Hello everyone, welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep channel. And in this lecture, we are going to talk about the preparation strategy regarding modern history as far as UPSC mains are concerned. Before I begin this lecture, I hope you would have gone through the previous lecture where we had talked about the preparation strategy for the prelims. And if you recall that lecture, in the last line of our conversation, I had made it very, very clear to you people that when it comes to preparation, the preparation of prelims and mains has to be done together. You cannot say that, see, today I'm doing or we are working something for the prelims and later I'll be studying something for mains. That way it does not work out. You will have to be studying both of them together at this point of time. That is very, very crucial. So whenever the mains is there or whether it is prelims, you study them together. Now, again, few things repetitions. For example, syllabus. Before preparing anything, you need to know the syllabus. You need to understand the syllabus properly. Absolutely look into the previous year questions. There is no doubt. So why don't we begin with this particular lecture by seeing what is the syllabus? As far as UPSC mains is concerned, modern Indian history from about the middle of the 18th century until the present, significant events, personalities, issues, the freedom struggle, its various stages and important contributions from different parts of the country. Now, they have clearly mentioned what's the syllabus. Along with that, if you look, main syllabus has got 5 lines for history. One for world history, one for post-independence, one for culture, but 2 lines have been given for modern history, which clearly reflects how important is modern history. And please understand, almost all these areas, UPSC keeps on revisiting in different years. Now, 2 points. Number 1, middle of the 18th century, clearly 1750s onwards till 1947. This is the period from where the questions can come. But we will start it slightly before 1750s, that is 1707, when Aurangzeb died. And basically we shall study here that decline of Mughals. This will be the first topic that we will begin as far as the mains is concerned. Now, it mentions until the present. Please remember, we stop here in 1947 because post 1947 that goes in post-independence. So we'll be stopping at 1947 as far as modern is concerned. Now, if you look at significant events, that's the word. One example is Rin Mutiny. So many times questions have come on Rin Mutiny. Similarly, personalities, nobody better than Gandhiji. So many questions have come on Gandhiji. Continuously in the last 10 years, issues, questions on communalism that we need to know. Apart from that, when we come to freedom struggle, the various stages, one of the most important topic of late has become the moderate phase of Congress. 2, 3, in fact, I'll say 3 questions have come in the last 10 years from this chapter. Then again, important contributors or contributions. See here, questions can come here on Subhash Chandra Bose, Maulana Azad. Questions have come on these great personalities, different parts of the country. So all such questions have come in our exam. Let us look how many marks these questions have been. If you see here, from GS paper 1, we have got in 2013 35, then 30, 37.5, 37.5, 65, 40, 50, 25, 40. Overall, this total is 360. I'll show you again this thing. 65, this is 75. So it comes to be 140, 205, 245, 295, 320, 360. And how many years are we talking about here? We are talking about 9 years. So 360 divided by 9. 40 marks per year. 40 marks out of your first 250 is coming from your modern. Now, look at the number of questions. See, the least was in 2014 where 2 questions came. And after that, the highest was 5 in 2017. I know some of you would be saying why 3.5, because here there was a question of pre and post independent India contributions of Maulana Azad. Now post India goes under the post independent. That's why it was 0.5. Pre was in modern, post was in post independence. And this year also 2020 the questions were only 2. So 2 years 14 and 20 the number of questions were only 2, and 3 questions in 2015 all the years. So usually if we see it's 3 which is there, this was an anomaly year where 5 questions came from this modern Indian history. Moving forward, nature of the questions. You can see 2017 question has come on socio-religious reform movement. Similarly, I was talking about 2017 only, moderates, 3 questions have come. Personality, Gandhiji, how important are his thoughts today, significance of his thoughts. Similarly, 2020, a question on Curzon. See, on Governor General, earlier there was a question on Lord Dalhousie also. So 2 questions on 2 Governor Generals have already come in the last 9 years. Remember, I'll make it very clear here why we are talking about the last 9 years, because 2013, as you all know, our new syllabus had come. So I have taken the numbers from 2013 itself till 2021. So Lord Dalhousie, already 1 question has come apart from Lord Curzon. So if you see here, these chapters continuously the questions have kept on coming. Now, if we talk about the important themes, 18th century India, see here, we start with decline of Mughals. Remember, in pre we also study about the arrival of Europeans, but that has not to be studied here, mainly because that is a prelims topic. So in 18th century India, we study about the decline of Mughals. Already mains question, if you go through the previous question, spectre of fragmented polity. 18th century India was a spectre of fragmented polity. This question has already come in our mains exam. Moving ahead of this, we move to the next topic, that is the rise of provincial kingdoms, which also some points of this had to be written in this. We had to mention that. Similarly, we further move to battles. Already there has been a question on third battle of Panipat. Why Panipat was having so many empire-shaking battles? It has already been asked. Apart from this, I'll tell you the topics like Palasi, Buxar, they can any day be asked. These are very important from the perspective of our modern exam. Similarly, when we move beyond the battles, we move towards the revolts. And if you look at the revolts, we have 1857 and the tribal revolts. Now again, on 1857 revolt, already a question has been asked. That question was basically about the result or what all happened after the 1857 revolt. And similarly, tribal revolts also, the question in mains has come. There were so many small and big rebellions before the 1857 revolt. So such questions have come. Then we come to the chapters like socio-religious reform movement. Even 2021, there was one question here on the contributions of Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Vivian de Rosio. So questions have come from this section also. And this was a very simple question, a straightforward question, but then that has come. In the previous slide only, I have already shown 2017 question. See here, the women's questions arose in modern India as a part of the 19th century social reform movement. What are the major issues and debates concerning women in that period? This has already been asked. Similarly, remember, this chapter is very close to the chapter of social issues or the subject of social issues. Questions based on this has come in social issues also, that the reform movements in India did not really look into the reforms of the lower class or lower strata of women. So those questions also, the knowledge of this could be utilized over there. Similarly, when we move ahead, economic history of modern India, remember both for pre and mains, these two segments are very, very important. Questions have come, I think 3 or 4 questions has already come in the last 10 years based on this chapter. How the artisanal industry, local industries were destroyed after the arrival of the Britishers. Such questions have come from this section. They are continuously asking questions from this section. Moving ahead, questions have come from this section. Moderates, 3 questions in last 10 years, I would say. Has become a very, very important area. I have already shown a question. Why did the moderates fail to carry conviction with the nation about their proclaimed ideology and political goals by the end of the 19th century? Such questions have already been asked. Similarly, if we move ahead, see Gandhiji and after this Gandhian movements, there are questions. For example, 2021, the question was both NCM and CDM, that what were the constructive activities done during this particular period. Similarly, questions have come from the section of 1940s, that how the Britishers complicated the transfer of power in 1940s as far as India was concerned. See, one area from where the questions have not come for the last many years is the chapter of revolutionaries. And that's why I continuously keep on saying that there is a high probability that questions on revolutionary can come any day. This year already prelims question has come on this. Last question from this chapter of revolutionary had come way, way earlier when there was question on Bhagat Singh. I think that question had come in 2007. After that, nothing has come as far as this topic is concerned. Similarly, lots of questions in the last few years as far as the 1940s chapter is concerned has come from the Rin Mutiny. Questions have come on Rin Mutiny also. Similarly, the differences between, for example, S.C. Bose and Gandhiji. Similarly, Babasaheb Bhimrao Ambedkar and Gandhiji, that has been asked. Apart from that, questions have been on hypothetical questions. For example, had Gandhiji been not there, how would have been our freedom movement? Such questions have been asked. Similarly, ideology questions, that it's not only one ideology that led to our independence, but there was lots of ideologies that came in our freedom struggle after 1920s. So such questions have also been asked. So if you look at this, what UPSC has done is that they have almost tried to touch each and every area, and from there they have asked. Even the questions on constitutional chapters, Government of India Act 1935, even in paper 2, there have been questions where the help of modern history has been very much important or has been required in giving the answers related to questions of constitution over there. So such questions have also come. So please understand, when it comes to modern Indian history, and specifically when we talk about mains area, almost every section, some questions have come. Moving to the book list, let me show you. See, again, you would have already gone through the NCERTs while you were doing the pre for the modern history, and invariably you would have identified what are the important areas that you should have studied. If you don't want to do the NCERTs, again I'll be repeating here, you can leave the NCERTs for the mains. But then book list. See here, you have already studied this, you have to do this. There is no doubt about Bipin Chandra History of Modern India. You have to read it. Certain chapters can be done from India's struggle for independence also. This is another book written by, again, Bipin Chandra only. And certain chapters here are really very important. And even in personality test, I can tell you about my own personality test. The questions on safety wall theory could have been better answered only if you would have read the initial chapters where Bipin Chandra is telling that safety wall theory was nothing but a myth. Similarly, later chapters where they are talking about communalism or the freedom movement in princely states, such chapters, they are very nicely written in this particular book. Again, if you have done the Bipin Chandra, mostly you would not require the brief history of modern India spectrum. Certain chapters which are more here, like press or education, which are given in much more bigger detail, they are mostly from the perspective of prelims. You would not require them in mains. Apart from this, the other books, Sumit Sarkar, Ishita Banerjee Dubey, Shekhar Bandyopadhyay, B.L. Grover. See, again, I'll repeat this. Read one book, complete that book, then only get into another book if you have the time, because again, you are not doing a PhD here. You can identify certain topics, but then those topics identification, take help from your mentors, take help from your teachers that, see, I want to read this particular book, I want to go through this particular book, should I do? For example, let's say, if anybody asks me, what about B.L. Grover? Is it a great book? Yes, it's nicely written book. Which is the best chapter? I personally find the chapters on Constitution, that is the Government of India Acts 1909, 1919, 1935, or even 1861, 1892, all those, they are best explained in this particular book. It's a fabulous book when it comes to those chapters. So talk to your mentors, talk to your teachers, identify the important themes if you are going for any other book. Don't go for this over, because you can understand, I showed you 30 to 40 marks, 40 on an average is coming from this. And we can easily answer 2 questions from the basic books. 1 question for that. Will you go for 4 books? I perhaps think you may not be going for that. So you can rely on the PPTs, you can rely on the notes that have been provided to you in the classes, and that would be more than sufficient for your questions of modern Indian history as far as mains are concerned. Lastly, if somebody asks us what would be the strategy for coverage of this, as I told you earlier, start with decline of Mughals. Once you have done this, you would know what all were the factors that led to their decline. Do look into the topic of battles here. Palasi and Buxar being very, very prominent. They have not been asked. High chance that they might be asked any year. There can be a question on both of them. Then when you move, of course, the next important chapter would be 1857 revolt. Please study this. Last question had come on the topic of results. There can always be a question on the analysis. Different people, different historians, different views about 1857 revolt, or there can even be a question on the causes. As far as socio-religious reform movements are concerned, or economic history, because you would be covering them very nicely for pre. If you have studied it nicely over there, invariably you would have covered them for mains also. Because the fodder to write any good answer for mains comes from this area only, the socio-religious reform movement. So prominent people, see already the question on Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Derozio has been asked. There can be questions on Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. There can be questions on all the reformers who tried to uplift the so-called lower caste people. So for example, one question having Sri Narayan Guru, Periyar, Baba Saheb, Bhimrao, Ambedkar, Justice Party, all this, there can be one question on them. Similarly, when it comes to economic history, there can be questions on land revenue. They have not come. They have not asked a simple question, single question from famine till date. They can always ask questions from this area. Other areas like drain of wealth, deindustrialization and all that, invariably you would have studied earlier for pre, and you would have enough knowledge about that at this moment. Looking ahead, if you see here, moderates, I already told you 3 questions have already come. Good chances that there might be more questions. Similarly, the partition of Bengal, very, very important topic. Along with the movements like Swadeshi, boycott, later Surat split, why this movement ended, there can be questions on them. Moving ahead, always there can be a very good question made on communalism. And here you will have to include every point. For example, how communalism started after 1857 because of the divide and rule policy of the Britishers. Then formation of parties like Muslim League in 1906, Parliamentary reforms in 1909. Then 1919, the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. Both of them gave separate electorate. Similarly, Lucknow Pact of 1916. Later, 1940, the two-nation theory being asked. before this, the day of deliverance, all this you will have to mention. So remember, the things that we study for prelims, invariably they become the fodder for our mains exam also. So our knowledge of that has to be utilized here. Apart from this, I told you Gandhiji, very, very prominent. Everything regarding Gandhiji can be asked anywhere and it would become a part of your answers. Similarly, no question on revolutionary has come, I told you, but the chances are always that questions on Gadar or any of the revolutionary, for example, the contributions of great people like Bhagat Singh, that can be again asked in our exams. Lastly, the personalities or the various other movements like the communist movement, the peasant movements, this has to be studied. Personalities like Subhash Chandra Bose. Another personality would be your Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar. Of course, Bhagat Singh. The contributions of these great people you have to study. So remember that this was all with regards to the preparation strategy of the modern history with regards to UPSC main. Please keep an eye on the previous year question. It gives us quite a good hint about what can be expected. And that is why you all can see in your tablet lectures, we have already provided the previous analysis of all the years as far as mains is concerned, right from 2013 till 2021. All the questions that have come in general studies, every question has been given with a approach how to write answers. Please go through them. And similarly for prelims, right from 2011 till 2022 prelims, everything has been provided over there. So please do go through these lectures, look into what and how we have given the approaches for those questions. Keep on practicing, keep on writing more and more answers. Wherever you have doubts, please ask us. That's all from this particular lecture. Goodbye. Thank you.